Hey, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thank you so much for taking the time to check this deck tech out. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I welcome you very much. Today I'm going to be filming a video on my Omnath Locus of Rage updated deck tech. I don't know the last time that I did this deck tech, but guys, I went through on my tapped out, which I will list this deck in the down bar below. And guys, I looked at it and I was like, oh, the deck probably didn't change that much. And the last time I did it, or I just maybe haven't updated tapped out, literally so much of the deck changed. Like I think maybe like 10 cards stayed, which was it was a lie. I updated it so like everything is foil. So if you do look on my tapped out, you can see like I updated it so like every single set symbol and like foil is updated on there. And I do this for a lot of reasons. First off, I like to see the value of my deck. Second off, some people may look at it and want to know for themselves, but I will say I do have some foil cards and things like that, and that does alter the price. This deck is roughly around $450. If you look on the price, if you guys use tapped out, it actually syncs it with TCG Player, so prices are decently accurate. However, there's one card in particular that I'll mention that's showing up as being $10, but the actual card is like $70, so there's a huge price difference. So you may look at the value and it may not be 100% accurate, but it's roughly a little bit under $500, which honestly sounds insane, but I'm just here to tell you, like, you do not have to spend a lot of money on Omnath. You can totally make this deck budget friendly, and I do want to talk about cost because I feel like that's a really important aspect of EDH. Omnath is a really popular commander for a lot of reasons, and he definitely can be more affordable. I am not saying you have to spend this money. Also, I have a lot of foils and fun things, so like that definitely adds to the price. But so yeah, the deck will be listed in the down bar below. Yep, so Omnath is the commander, and then we have our basic stats for our lands. I have like 15 forests and 9 mountains. Pretty straightforward. All of mine are full arts because I'm extra and I like that. Now let's talk about a couple of specialty lands. You do not really truly need a lot of specialty lands in Omnath. Like if you're gonna build this deck, there's a lot of the specialty lands that you can get are honestly pretty cheap. So I wouldn't feel compelled to like go out and like spend a ton of money on this deck and like spend a ton of money on the mana base. Like you don't need to do that. I first have Ash Barrens. A lot of these are just like recycle lands or just like really good value lands. I like Ash Barrens a lot. Then I have Blighted Woodland. Like, this is a really good example of a card that, like, you could totally get for this deck, but, like, it's so cheap. Like, this is, like, a 10-cent card, so you can totally get this card, and this is a really good value land that gives you a little bit more extra money, like, value. Then we have Cinderglade. I just had, like, an extra one, and I like this card a lot. And then we have Evolving Wilds. Again, this is like another like specialty land that I would just totally recommend because you get like 2 for 1. Then we have Fertile Thicket. I like this card. The next one we have is Ghost Town. I don't know if this is an as popular card, but I do quite like it. I think this card is like a couple bucks. You can add a colorless to your pool, and then for 0 you can return it. You can only use this during another player's turn, but this is really good for kind of getting some extra value and getting some more landfalls, triggers. Then I have Gruul Turf. I then have Mountain Valley. This is another really good example. You search for a mountain or a forest and you put it on the battlefield. It's really good. It doesn't come into play, and it also does not say basic, so you can get some non-basics, which I don't really have many duels. But then we have Myriad Landscape. I really like this card in here. I like that card in general. And then we have Stomping Ground. Like, this is an example. You don't need this card in here. I just like it, and I like having it for the dual purpose. Yeah. And then we have Terrarian Generator. I don't know if a lot of people know what this card does, and TBH, I always forget it. For 2 mana, you can put a land from your hand into play tapped. You may only do this once per turn. It's a really, really good card. It's a couple bucks, if I'm remembering correctly. Terramorphic Expanse. Undiscovered Paradise. This is another really good one. Add 1 mana to your pool at the beginning of your next untap phase. You return it to your hand. Really good if you run out of lands, which TBH can happen. And then the last one is Valakut Molten Pinnacle. I don't want to say, like, you need this card in this deck, but it is really good. Like, Valakut is a really fabulous card, and it is a little bit more expensive, but I would recommend splurging on it for the deck, because if you get Valakut off, you can just kill so many things. It's really good. Or you can just Lightning Bolt people to death, which is super fun. Okay, we're gonna go over instants really quick because there's only 2. The first one is Beast Within. I really love Beast Within. If there's a deck that's green, I run this card. You can destroy anything with it. It's really good because you can pretty much deal with creatures with Omnath's ability, but if there's another permanent, you kind of want to deal with it. Beast Within does it. You get a 3/3. You literally don't care. It's perfect. It's a 3/3. You can bolt it with Omnath, which is amazing. The next is Frozen Grip because, yes, there are some really nasty artifacts or enchantment that you do want to get rid of. As I was actually filming this deck, y'all, and I was like putting the cards into tapped out and stuff like that, I realized there's a promo version of this card, and I hate the art. Please let me know what you think of the promo Frozen Grip art and if you like it or not. Now we're going to talk about that one card that I had mentioned that is actually more expensive. This is the Therese Nielsen Nissa Vital Force. Paul got me these as a set, and Nissa is so good in this deck. You get her emblem off, and like it just works so well. She's like also too like I feel like she's like a really, really good planeswalker, and she does work really well, but I don't feel like you play her and people need to get her off the board, which I kind of like, where it doesn't seem as like OP. Like her ult is really good, and you can play it and then ult it the next turn, which is really strong. So I like Nissa a lot, and you have a lot of protection, you know, a lot of cushion room to protect her. Now let's get into artifacts because there's only 6. Hammer of Perforos. Yep, this card is totally essential. I never use the last ability, but it's just for the fact that my creatures get haste. The next one is Perilous Vault because there are times where you have to deal with the board. Someone gets rid of your board or something and theirs stays on. You want to get rid of it. Perilous Vault's a good option. Soul Ring, you know. Staff of Wind. Yes, I love this card. You need that bit of card advantage. It's so important. Then we have Swiftfoot Boots. I love this card. This was really great for Omnath or if a token enters the battlefield, you want to attack with it. And Sword of the Animist. Yeah, I love this card a lot. Buffs your stuff and gives you +1/+1. Okay, now I have a lot of enchantments. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 12 enchantments, which is like so much, but there's so many good enchantments that go with this deck. Beastmaster Ascension. If you get this off, or you do have like 7 or more, you basically win the game. I don't foresee you losing at that point, you know what I mean? Like, it is so good. I love Beastmaster Ascension. I've played with this card in the past, and I really love it. Then we have Burgeoning. This is a card that I have really mixed feelings on. I feel like it's really good in the early game, but it's not good in the late game. So this is a card that in the future potentially may come out. But honestly, Omnath like doesn't really have a lot of tweaks at this point. Like the deck is like good, so I can't really see myself taking a whole lot out. But this would be one of the first cards that I would consider. Then we have Doubling Season. If you were really gonna splurge for like one card in this deck, I really would say Doubling Season. I talked about this in my EDH cards worth the money. I think it was the first video that I did. I really love Doubling Season in this deck. I feel like it's so important. There's a card that's similar. I want to say it's like Primal Vigor. Very similar to this, but it applies. It's much cheaper, but it applies to each opponent. So like they get double counters and they get double tokens. I would not recommend it. Honestly, I would just splurge and get the Doubling Season if you're building Omnath. Like the difference is huge. Like you want this to impact you. You know what I mean? Doubling Season's like a house. That card is so good. And then we have Exploration. I really feel like Exploration doesn't belong in any EDH deck except for Omnath. Like you want to be able to play additional lands. And honestly, this is a card that I think some people think is only good in early stages of the game. But like if you're getting a lot of lands, and sometimes you play a lot of the effects give you a land to your hand, so your hand is still full, this is really good to help you get your lands out. Fervor, and then very similarly, Fires of Yavimaya. I have actually, fun fact, killed so many people because I've sacked Yavimaya, Fires of Yavimaya, and then just given Omnath +2/+2. It's so good. Both these cards are super essential in that deck, so you get haste to haste. This is a card, Goblin Bombardment, that I don't know if a lot of people know about, but it is so good. So what's really good about this card is that if someone goes to blow up the board, you can sack your stuff, you get bolts from Omnath, triggers, but then you get another additional damage. So say you have like 5 tokens, you get 5 times 3 is 18, and then you get an additional 5. Like, that's like basically half of someone's life total right there. That is so good. This card is such a great answer. You can respond with this card. It's not a tap ability. It's 2 mana. This card is a boss. I love it. Then we have Colony Heart Expedition. I really love this card a lot. I think this is like I don't see this card widely played, but I do quite like it. It just gets me a lot of mana, really good in early stages of the game. Then we have Overwhelming Instinct. This is probably another card. I kind of just have the card laying around and kind of needed a spot filler, but this is probably one of the cards that will come out, I feel like, for just something else. I do like that it draws me cards, but it's only one, and I don't know. Parallel Lives, of course, absolutely. And then these cards are actually very similar, so I'm going to talk about them together. We have Warstorm Surge and Where Ancients Tread. Both of these cards are really fabulous. Where Ancients Tread only sits with power 5 or greater, but honestly, it doesn't really matter because everything you have is pretty much 5 or greater with all your tokens. And then Warstorm Surge is just each HBs, it deals damage equal to its power. So good. These cards are really, really important in this deck. You deal a lot of damage with that. Like, there's so much damage that this deck can deal. It's honestly kind of insane. So I'm really contemplating on if I want to show you guys the sorceries or the creatures next, because I usually do creatures last, but mainly, like, I only run like 20, and I don't even know how many sorceries I run. Let's count really quick. 1, 2. Okay, so I run 21 sorceries. I'm going to show you guys them. The first one I have is Blasphemous Act. This card is honestly hilarious because you can just blow up everyone's board and then you get value off of it. Like, that's the thing I love about Omnath, is if someone like blows the board up, you're like, sweet, I like lightning bolt people to death. It's so good. So Blasphemous Act is really good, and you can honestly, like, you never cost this card. You never cast this card for this much money. You always cast it for lower, so Blasphemous Act is great. Boundless Realms, of course, Boundless Realms in the deck. I feel like I never draw this card, which is honestly unfortunate because you basically just win once you play this card. I also want to really note, actually, while we have Boundless Realms up, that one thing I think that's really important too to note about running Omnath decks is you don't want to run so many specialty lands because a lot of the cards that you play only get you basic. So I just want to note that if you're someone who's like, I want to like deck Omnath out and whatnot, like, still make sure you have a great amount of basics. Like, I don't even remember how many specialty lands I went over. I don't really remember, but honestly, I would just be really wary of that because for an effect like Boundless Realms, you want to get mass effect from that. And then we have Broken Bond. This card is really good. It's a naturalized, but so much better. I love this card a lot. Then we have Chain Reaction. I don't honestly think I've ever drawn this card, so I actually can't speak about it. And it's actually same for this other removal card called Decimate. I think this card is really good and, to be honest, underrated. You destroy an artifact, creature, enchantment, and land. The only thing about this card is you have to have all of those things on the board. But to be honest, I feel like you're gonna see all of those things, at least like in my play group. I don't really worry about that, but I really can't speak for this card because I honestly haven't drawn it. And then we have Cultivate. Yes, I love this card. This card is really good. And then we have Explore, because not only do you get to play an additional land, but you also get to draw a card. And I love drawing cards. Explosive Vegetation. Pretty straightforward. A lot of these sorceries are really, really simple, you know what I mean? Fade into Antiquity, because exiling stuff is so important. So good. Harmonize. Oh my god, y'all, look how pretty this card is. I love this card. I love this art so much. Harmonize is target player draws 3 cards, or you draw 3 cards. It's the wording I don't really recall, but Harmonize is so good in this deck. Oh my gosh, because you can run out of cards. Like, that is a thing that you could do because you just dump your hand, and then a lot of times this helps you kind of like get back up on your feet. So I really like that card. Kodama's Reach, pretty straightforward. The same thing with Nissa's Pilgrimage. I actually have gotten Spell Mastery off because there are a good amount of sorceries, like 20 cards, so that's what 1/5 of your deck are sorceries, which is a pretty good number. So I have gotten Spell Mastery off, which has been really good. Then we have this card, Peregrination. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. I do like this card. I think it seems like it's kind of a lot of mana for what it is, but you kind of get the Scry one. I feel like this eventually will come out for something else that's just maybe a little bit better, that like does the same thing, but it's just kind of better, you know what I mean? Rampant Growth, because Tracy Nielsen is boss lady, and I love that art. Ranger's Path. This card I don't think a lot of people know about. It's very similar to another card that we're going to talk about. But they do come into the battlefield tapped for 4 mana. This is a good card, though, and it is only forests. But they're not basic, which is actually pretty good. This is a pretty new card to me, Rishkar's Expertise, but I really like this card a lot for a lot of reasons. So, sorry y'all if I keep pausing to drink water. I, like, feel like I don't stop talking when I film these videos, and I feel like I just have, like, no time to, like, recover, you know? I feel like I'm talking for such a long period of time. Anyways, this card's so good. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control, and then you can cast something with CMC 5 or less. Yes, please. This card is so good for so many reasons. I really like this card a lot. And then we have Seek the Horizon. I like this card because they do go to your hand, and this is really good for, like, refreshing and refilling your hand. Then we have Shamanic Revelation. I have crawled back from death by casting this card. I have been, like, so low on my life total, and, like, I cast Shamanic Revelation and the game just actually changes. It's kind of insane. Drawing cards and gaining life, I am literally all about those things. I mentioned earlier, Ranger's Path is very similar to Skyshroud Claim. I love this card for a lot of reasons. They're forest cards, and they don't enter the battlefield tapped. This is a great card. The next is Summer Bloom, because I can't cast this card in Modern anymore, so I have to cast it here. Card's really good. And the last sorcery is Sylvan Scrying. This is such a great card. I'm sorry. The fact that you get any land to your hand. I've gotten Valakut more times with this card than anything, really. Okay, guys, I don't know, the sorceries are pretty exciting, but the creatures, there's some fun creatures in here. Not too much elementals going on, but a lot of cards that are really just going to help me kind of jumpstart and stuff. The first is Acidic Slime. No, it's not an elemental, but I need this card to destroy artifacts, enchantments, or lands, to be honest. Card is amazing. Avenger of Zendikar, one of the few elemental cards in the deck, but this card is just such a game changer. I feel like, and this with Goblin Bombardment is honestly just nuts. You have so much mana that you just, like, pop this out, and then you just, like, sack your tokens to Goblin Bombardment. They're always going to get bigger. This is such a great win condition. I love that card. Then we have Azusa. She's lost, but don't worry, she's seeking. I love Azusa. I'm really happy that she's in this deck. I do think this card is worth a little bit of the splurge money on, because playing 2 additional lands means you play 3 lands a turn, and you kind of do run out of lands pretty quickly, but again, there are times that you refresh your hand and you want access to more lands. So Azusa is quite good in this deck, and I like her a lot. Then we have Burnished Heart, because this guy gives me 2 basics, real good. I like Burnished Heart. Oh my god, guys, Corsair Crewfix. It was so funny. I was going through my deck, and I accidentally put Corsair with the enchantments, and as I was doing the creatures and, like, putting them in alphabetical order, I was like, why isn't Corsair in here? Did I just, like, take Corsair out? And I was like, that was kind of weird. And then I realized that it was with the enchantments, and I was like, oh, okay, crisis averted, because, like, Corsair is so good. You gain life, which is awesome. You don't get, like, I don't know. You don't get, like, card advantage with this, but you get, like, card visual ability. I don't know, but you get to see, like, what's on top of your library, and I like having that information. Then we have Fertilid. This is a really, I feel like, underrated card, and not a lot of people know about it. I think it truly is only good in Omnath, but it kind of looks like a lot of mana, but what I like is, like, you play this in early stages of the game, and then you can remove a counter, and then the following turn remove another counter, which I really like that flexibility. Okay, another elemental friend. We have Greenworn and Marasa, because absolutely, I mean, yes, this card is so good. I'm so happy that it's in the deck. Honestly, just everything about this card. I absolutely love Green Warden of Marasa. Then we have Mina and Den. I love Mina and Den. I'm playing with this card. I had this card in here ever since Mina and Den came out. And basically, it's really good. You get to play additional land. You can bounce a land. And then you can give something trample. Like, all around this card does, like, everything. Mina and Den are so good. Then we have Nissa, Vastwood Seer. I love Nissa. You basically play her, and then you flip her right away. You search for a basic forest, you put it into play, and then she flips into Nissa, Sage Animist, which is so good. I feel like the ult is just straight up a win condition. I haven't really, like, cast Nissa a ton, but I do really like her. She's very good. And then we have Nylea, God of the Hunt, because honestly, what is more threatening than having a bunch of 5/5s is having 5/5s with trample. Also, I don't think a lot of people honestly realize Nylea's last ability. It's kind of not great. 4 mana to pump something, +2/+2, but honestly, if you have so much mana and nothing to do with it, like, Nylea is so good, you could just pump this into Omnath and make him so big, like, it's kind of ridiculous. Guys, I have Perforos. This foil Perforos is $44. How insane is that? I'm pretty sure I, like, got Perforos when he was, like, I don't even know, like, less than $44. But I'm so happy I have a foil one. Perforos is boss. I mean, really, anytime you get any creatures, you just deal 2 damage to each opponent. It's so good. You can pump your team. I haven't drawn Perforos recently. It's actually really sad. He's a great card. And then we have Reclamation Sage, of course, because I need to destroy artifacts or enchantments, and also I love this art. Okay, then we have Regal Force. ETBs for each green creature you control. This is so good. You can draw so many cards with this. It's honestly kind of ridiculous, and I love it. Also, it's a 5/5. It's got a huge body. Sakura Tri-Builder, of course, Steve is in here. Then we have Sad Robot, i.e. Solemn Simulacrum. Yep, he's super in here. He gets me lands, he draws me cards, he just does everything I need him to. Tireless Tracker, yes, it's so funny, I really need to get another Tireless Tracker so I can put one in Ladies, because Tireless Tracker is, like, so good. You get lands, when you play lands, you get to investigate, which means you get to draw cards, and you get to pump Tireless Tracker. Like, everything about this card is just yes, 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 I need. Okay, then we have Wood Elves, of course. I love it. I love how it's not basic. I love how it's into play. It doesn't come into the battlefield tap, which is so good. It's a 1/1, then it's a chump blocker. Also, this art is, like, amazing, and I love it. And the last card is Yavi Maya Elder. I like this card. I feel like it's kind of a lot of mana because you kind of have to, like, I usually play it and then crack it at the same time. You get 2 lands out of it, and then, you know, you get to draw a card. Again, it's kind of like one of those things where in the future, when something else comes along that's kind of good, I'll probably change it out. But for right now, it's fine. Guys, that is everything. That is my Omnath, updated, I should say, Omnath deck tech. Thank you so much for watching this video. I don't know if I said this in the beginning, but I will list in the down bar my old deck tech. I don't know how many deck techs I've done of this deck. I feel like I may have done 2. I could be totally wrong though, but I'll list them in the down bar below if you want to check them out. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!